You have the two different tattoos on your legs. You have Rise Above. Walk us out a little bit. Where did that idea come from, and what does that mean?
Because like going back to my freshman year of high school, I had somebody tell me that I wouldn't make varsity as a freshman. So
Hmm.
like just negative stuff like that, negative energy anywhere in the world, it's always gonna be something negative, somebody negative comments, whatever it may be. So that I got that for that, just rise above all negativity.
What's going on today? I'm the host, Zach SchuZ, Schumaker. Joining me today is Horizon League All Freshman Team Selection, three-time Horizon League Freshman of the Week, one-time Wisconsin State Champion, and one of the newest members of the Wisconsin Badgers, Kamari McGee. Kamari, appreciate taking time to come on today, man.
Man, appreciate you having me. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, your entire life, you've been a hometown hero throughout high school, your first year of college. You're going to continue that now next season. But I have to ask you, growing up, did you have a dream school? And if so, who was it?
Um, Growing up, I didn't really have a dream school.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be able to play the best basketball no matter which school I was at. So I just wanted to make sure that I put in that work to get to the position that I'm in now, no matter where it would have been.
When you talk about potentially staying home, was that in your back of the mind at any point saying, okay, if I could find a way to stay in state, rather be at a school like Green Bay or rather be at a big school like Wisconsin, like, did you just always want to stay home if you could?
So for the first time around, like coming out of high school, that was a thing because I wanted my family to come, be able to come to the games and support. But then as time went on, I realized that my family they would support me no matter what. Like if they could see me on the TV, it wouldn't matter if they were there or if they just had to watch it on TV. So that second time around, it really staying close to home wasn't really in the back of my mind. It just so happened that Wisconsin was the school.
Now, my last I do want to touch up on before we get into your story and talk about your journey is you have a nickname that's your Instagram, your Twitter name, that's Killa Kam.
Yeah.
You got to get to the backstory of that. How did that come to be and just where did that nickname come from?
So before the high school season would start, we were all like during the fall, we would be in a little a city league where we got to play where St. Cat's got to play the public school. So, everybody would come out to the games, the gym would be packed, and then everybody just started calling me Killer Cam. And like they just always called me Killer. It was always what up, Killer, how you doing, Killer? So it kind of just stuck with me because it had a nice little ring to it.
Your mom also has her Killa in her name as well. Is that just something that kind of become a family nickname now? Like you just said, okay, we're just gonna put that on our name now. That's kind of a family name now.
What's crazy is when I started playing, I'm sure you know who James Graham is, right?
Mhm.
When I started playing with Playground and playing with him, he would always be around. And so he actually started calling my mom Mama Killer. So and then that kind of stuck with her. So she changed her Instagram name to that too.
Well, like I said, I do want to get into your story and talk about how you become the player that you are today because it hasn't always been a situation where you had Wisconsin on the table for yourself. You haven't always been someone that had the national attention. So I want people to get to know how you've become this player that you are today. So we head back, as I mentioned earlier, you've been home your entire life. You've been out there in Wisconsin. What's it been like growing up out there?
Man, it's been pretty good, honestly. It gets real cold out here, but yeah, it's crazy. But it's just it has that home feel, like just being in Wisconsin. Even when I would travel places, like always will want to come back here. It's just home, like where home is. So it's just like I just feel most comfortable when I'm out here in Wisconsin, whether it be Racine, anywhere really. I just feel pretty comfortable.
Just based on your social media and stuff, I can tell that you and your mom are pretty close. So walk us through your guys' relationship a little bit. Like how critical has she been for you in terms of you just becoming the person on and off the court that you are today?
Man, yeah, my mom. I'm a mama's boy first and foremost, so that'll never change. But I know my mom always wants me to. She wants to see me be my best, whether that's on the court or off the court. I know she wants the best of me, so that pushes me to continue to do what I do on and off the court. Like my mom is always in my ear, my number one supporter. She's always there whenever I need her. So that definitely keeps me going. I want to be able to provide for her more than I do.
What would you say is the biggest lesson or thing that she's taught you in your life?
Um, so when I was what when was this? I want to say maybe a junior in high school. My
Mhm.
mom bought me a sign, and it says never give up ever. So like just the one thing she taught me is that even when times get hard, it's just to keep pushing through and to never give up.
When you look at growing up in Wisconsin, they're one of the more underrated states in my opinion. And obviously, in terms of depth, they don't necessarily have the population that anywhere competes to Texas or New York or Florida or California, any of those states. But the amount of talent that comes out of there for the population size of Wisconsin is incredible, especially the past 5, 6, 7 years, like this past generation. When you talk about Mike Foster and Pat Baldwin are some of the headline guys, Tyler Heroes are obviously a huge piece there. And then you just go down the list. You mentioned James Graham earlier. You talk about yourself. You go down, like I said, the list goes on and on about guys that have become high level D1 players from out there. What's it been like being a part of this new era of Wisconsin basketball?
Man, it honestly feels good, because I wasn't always getting the attention like this, and so it feels good to be, known with those names, those guys, because it like you said, Wisconsin doesn't really get that much respect, so it's definitely feel good to be one of those names that's well respected from this state.
Why would you say it is? Like, why do you feel that so many players leave Wisconsin, even though at a whole, like, we obviously Mike Foster was highly ranked coming out, Pat Baldwin was top five in the country, but as a lot of people still don't regard Wisconsin as a top state out there. Why do you feel that is?
Um, Because whenever I feel like whenever people think about Wisconsin, all they think about is cheese or like farms or people don't really know that like it's really some dogs that come from Wisconsin. And like I would say people would probably leave that like people from Wisconsin would leave because of just it doesn't get respect as much as the other states do. Or it's not getting the right like people aren't really looking out here. So I understand why, but at the end of the day, people gotta start putting respect on Wisconsin.
For yourself, and we're going to go in depth throughout this journey too, but just looking at your overall projection in your life, you didn't come out ranked, you didn't have the stars, you didn't have the attention, even though you were playing alongside a guy that was a top 100 recruit, and Tyrese, who's another guy from Wisconsin too. And he, even in my opinion, I thought he was a 5 star coming out, but he still was ranked at least. Why would you say it was for you, and how did you ultimately come out of there? How did you come out of Wisconsin and still become a Division I recruit?
Um, so me and Tyrese go way back. That's my best friend. So
Mhm.
with him having all the like me and him will talk about it all the time. With him having all the eyes on him, I just used it to my advantage. Like me and him talked about it all the time. He would be like, "Well, only one of these like schools can have me. So like if you do what you continue to do, like you're gonna start getting the looks too." So me and him like we just work together. We will always work out together. We'd be in the gym together, and we would make sure that we would compete whenever like people were looking at him or me. So like he definitely helped me a lot too. He helped me get better. Like going at him, like me and him helped each other get better. So that's my best friend, my brother. That's my dog. So I just took advantage of with everybody coming to look at him. I just made sure I was doing my part as well.
Every state has their own kind of branding of basketball. And there's some places like obviously like New York and New Jersey are pretty much the same, but like some places like each area of the country has their own type of brand, the same type of mentality. So you being a Wisconsin player, what defines a Wisconsin player? When you look at all the players out there and yourself, what is it about you guys? Like what's different about Wisconsin basketball from other states?
We tough. Wisconsin, well, I've heard that Racine, the city I'm from, breeds dogs, but I say the Wisconsin in general breeds dogs, breeds killers. Like it's a tough grit in us. Like we don't give up, we don't back down from nobody. We don't matter what state. We don't care what state anybody's from. Like we back down from nobody. Once you step in between the lines, it's all on. It's on go.
You head out to your high school career, you go to St. Catharines, and you end up having a great 4 year career out there. But when you were heading into high school, if someone would have told you that you still were going to become a Division I recruit, obviously it wasn't necessarily the high schools or rankings and all that yet, but just that you were going to have offers, you're going to have a chance to have your school paid for at the Division I level. Would that have shocked you, or is that something you expected to have happen?
Freshman year and even sophomore year, if I'm being honest, that probably would have shocked
Mm-hmm.
me because I wasn't I just wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. Like freshman year especially, I wasn't really in the gym as much as I am now. I wasn't really like I don't know. I didn't have the confidence that I got now. Like I was confident, but it wasn't as how I am now. So, I definitely would have been shocked. But that just pushed me even more. Like that's as the years went on. Like after sophomore year, my confidence went up even a little bit more. Then sophomore year hit. Um, my confidence continued to go up. Then junior year and senior year, once I started playing AAU and actually doing good in the AAU games, tournaments, that's when my confidence got up and I knew I was going to be a Division I player.
Would you say as a freshman that was a dream for yourself, or at that point were you still not even set on saying, I want basketball to be what I do after high school?
Oh yeah, it was a dream for sure. I just knew like personally that I wasn't putting in all the work that I should have. Like yeah, I was working out, but I know I wasn't doing as much as I should have been. It was always a dream though. That's been my dream.
When you talk about going to the school you chose, St. Catherine's, why was that the school you wanted to? Like, what was about that school you said, I want to play out my high school career there?
Um, I knew St. Cass had a history of winning.
Mm-hmm.
They have won many state titles, and then on top of that, my my second AAU team, all my teammates ended up going to St. Cat's.
Mm.
So our whole AAU team was at St. Cat's. So I was like, well, why not continue to go play basketball with all my friends? So it was the winning history and then being able to go play with my guys again.
You mentioned, and we talked about his a little bit earlier, but I do want to go into you and Tyrese's relationship because both you guys now are great players. He's in the portal right now. I think he's going to be an NBA player after next season. But you said you guys went back a little bit. So when did you guys first start to get to know each other? Was it in high school before that, or when did you guys first get close?
It was before high school. I want to say it was around like fourth, fifth grade, maybe when we were playing. We started playing a little city league together. It's called Optimus, and we were on the same team. And then that's when we began playing AU together. And like at the time, we still were like, yeah, we were on the same team. We were just friends. And then once we started going to AU tournaments, this is how me and him really got close. We went to AU tournament. It was in Indiana, and we were just playing. And like once we got done playing, it was some guys, some random people that came up to his grandma and was like, what's the twins' names right there? Because they thought me and Tyrese was brothers, like twins. So ever since then, like when we were younger, we used to call each other twin and then brothers. So then and the bond just continued to grow. Like he would spend the night, we would kick it all the time. We did everything. Like if you seen me, you seen him all the time. So that just continued to grow and grow and grow and grow, and it's still even growing. And like it's as tight as it ever could be.
When you two were on the court together, you guys achieved a ton together. But what would you say was your favorite memory? If you look back at everything you guys did throughout, from that point you guys first met each other to your final days out there in your senior year, what would you say is your favorite memory that you created with him?
My favorite memory would probably be when the last horn when we checked out in the state game, because he was dribbling the ball at half court, and the time it was like 48 seconds left, and our coach had called a timeout. He dropped the ball, he looked at me, and then he came up and hugged me, and that was probably like that my best memory so far. Was that because like you could see it in his face, you can see it in my face. Like we had finally did it after the season. Our junior year had got shut down on COVID. Like you could see that we finally did it
Mhm.
after 4 long years. So that's probably my favorite memory with me and bro.
When you talk about Tyrese as a player, when did you start realizing that he's a special type of player and just seeing the way he obviously developed from the time he was younger and turning into the player he was as a senior and now obviously in college as well? Has any of this shocked you at all seeing how good he's become?
Mm-mm. None of it has shocked me at all. I noticed it eighth grade year at AAU. I noticed like seventh to eighth grade. I noticed it like because he was he loved to be in the gym working out. Like I could see, I seen it coming. I really did. And his family has a history of having the bouncy legs, the springy legs. So I knew he was gonna have the jumping abilities, and I just knew he was gonna be a great player, the great player that he is.
What's the craziest Tyrese Hunter story you have from your time with him? Rather that be on practices, in a game. What's the craziest Tyrese Hunter story you have?
Man, I don't know. That's go way back. What's crazy is he just did something real crazy. We was just hooping at a little gym in Racine. What day was that? I want to say that was Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. And he was on a fast break by himself. And like he took off and in midair, somebody was like, windmill it. And then he was all the way up here, he brought it down, windmilled it like super easy. And it was like, and then right after that, he had another fast break and he 360, just 360 easy. So like it's a lot of crazy stories with bro, but that was fresh in my mind because it just happened.
When you talk about whoever lands him, there's going to be countless schools that want him. Obviously, just about every college in the country would love to have him as their point guard. For starters, though, is possibly reuniting, staying home in Wisconsin an option? And are you guys talking to him at all, or is that even something you'd like to have if he come out there and join you out there in Wisconsin?
So I mean, I haven't really talked to him about it because I know a lot of coaches is calling, so I kind of like whenever I'm talking to him, I kind of just want to get his mind off of all of that because I know how that can be. But I mean, me personally, I would definitely love to play with him. I miss playing with him. Like whenever we back in the city, I make sure I'm on his team just because I miss playing with him. It's only been a year, but it's feel like it's been forever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would definitely love to play with him, but I know he got a lot of schools calling.
If you guys do end up not being on the same team next year and you guys go head to head in a game, what would that be like?
It'd be a dog fight. Neither one of us likes to back down, so it definitely would be a dog fight. It'll be a good show too.
Now, I also have to imagine you two have played a lot of one-on-one games before. So, how do those games typically go?
I'm not gonna lie, I've never beat him in 1-on-1.
For real?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat anything. I've never beat him in 1-on-1. I've always been close, but I never beat him. Like his game is 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm. So, whoever does end up landing him, what are they going to be getting in Tyrese Hunter?
Man, they're gonna be getting one hell of a player. I mean, he can do it all. He can score, he could pass, and he showed that he can defend at a high level. So like you're getting an all around player.
Let's hop back into your freshman season and then your very first year of high school basketball. Takes the ups and downs of that year. What was that first year in high school like for yourself?
Man, it was very, very bumpy because I wasn't really playing much and I was getting frustrated because of that. So I wasn't really on the court as much as I wanted to be. So that kind of I was down a little bit, but it motivated me to just continue to work and continue to get better. I started a few games because of the point guard he had got injured or whatever. So I started a few games, and then towards the end of the year, I had messed up my hamstring, so I had some injuries early in my career, so that kind of took a toll on me as well.
Then you ultimately said that you end up having that shift in mindset, obviously, about heading into your junior year, I believe. What caused that? Was that something that someone just came and sat down and talked to you about it? Was it a coach? Was it your mom? Was it a parent? Was it someone like who kind of brought that point to you and you kind of said, okay, you know what? I do need to switch up and I'm going to kind of change my mentality when it comes to working out and preparing for basketball.
Um, Going back to Tyrese, I seen how much he was working, and
Mm.
I seen how successful he was being. So that just like motivated me to get step my game up a little bit, and then I did. So I started working out more with him. I started just working out on my own. I would get up early in the morning, go to work out before school. I would just do little stuff like that to just change my mentality and make sure like the more you work out, the easier the games will be. Like you'll be more confident in what you do, the more work you put in.
You hop into that sophomore season then. What was that year like?
That year, I started every game. And, it was better. It was definitely a big upgrade from my freshman year. I had a couple 20-point games, had a solid game. I was more the defender in high school. I was worried about guarding the other team's best player. So I was if we need a bucket, I'll go score. But I was more of a that sophomore year, I was more of a defender because we had Tyrese and then we had some seniors who were more ball dominant. So I was the lockup guy.
When did that scoring nature come to you? Because obviously, as a whole, this past year, you averaged almost 12 points a game, which is still pretty great for a freshman. But when you started getting that starting role, you averaged about 18 points a game. And so we know you as a guy that can obviously play great defense and all that too, but we know you're a bucket getter. How did that come to you? Was that something that just naturally came over time? Did you always have that ability in you, or when did you start to really unlock that?
I always had that ability, just playing with other scorers. I know how to adapt because I know to like when I started playing with Tyrese, I was like, okay. In high school, I knew like he was gonna be that go-to scoring guy. So I was like, all right, I'll play around that. Like, so if he was having an off night, all right, cool, I'll go score. And we even had another scorer named Jameer Barker. Like, and I know he was a bucket getter. So I was like, with us three being like scorers, I was like, all right, somebody gonna have to not score. So I didn't really showcase it that much, but like AAU times, I was bucket getter. Like it was always go get a bucket. So I've always had it. It's always been tucked away.
That is a unique ability because a lot of guys that are scorers, that's the one and only thing they really have. And obviously, the elite players, they might in the NBA, we're talking about guys, those guys might learn defense or whatever it is too. But especially high school guys in college, a lot of the mindset is, I'm a bucket getter, that's all I'm going to do. And you see a situation where it doesn't always work out. You get to an AAU team, some of those elite EYBL teams, they have 4 or 5 5 stars that all can score at will. Doesn't always work out that way. So that's something we're kind of going forth, obviously, this upcoming year. There's going to be a lot more guys that are capable of scoring too at Wisconsin. How have you learned, though, and kind of embracing, I can score, but at the same time, I'm going to buy into whatever role I need so that we can be a winning team?
Yeah, I've learned that you don't always have to score. That you can impact the game on many different levels. And I'm just the kind of guy that wants to make an impact on the game. So like if we need to get a stop, I'm gonna want to guard whoever like the best player. If we need to get a bucket and like we have been in a slump, okay, I'll try to get either myself a bucket or get my teammates an easy bucket. So I just want to make good impacts on the game. So like scoring isn't always in my mentality. I'm just trying to do whatever is helping the team.
Did you always have that mentality, or did you learn that over time?
I honestly always had that mentality. I'm kind of known as a glue guy, so
Yeah.
like I as long whatever I can do to help us win, because I love to win, not like I love to win. So like whatever is needed to win.
Well, let's hop into that junior year then, because that's when you players at a high level, and at the same time, those wins go up a bunch too. And you guys have an incredible run, and could have very likely have had back-to-back championships had COVID not shut things down for you guys. We'll talk about that in a second, though. But you go into that junior season, and on paper, as we know, you guys were 25-0. You guys didn't lose a single game that season. Did you guys expect to be that dominant that year?
Um, yes and no. So we played a different style of basketball junior year. So freshman and sophomore year, we had a big like a post player, a good post player. He was our leading scorer. So we played through him more. So that junior year is when we got out and ran. So we just started running teams more, and that really played to our advantage because like we just would get up and down. We would play good defense, team defense, and then we would just run.
Hmm.
So like we knew that it'd definitely be a change, but we didn't know it would be that big of a change.
When you guys are going through that, anyone that has that many games in a row, especially when you have not even lost a game yet, I know teams are always going to have the best effort against you guys. So how did you guys continue to go out there and win game after game after game and not let the hype and the undefeated record get to you guys ever?
Um, we just kept our minds right. We didn't get too big headed. We realized that we had a bigger goal at the end, so we didn't care win or lose. Like we didn't care how many games we won or how many games we lost. We just cared about making sure that we made it to the state championship. So we wanted to prove that we could get there. So and then we just teams did every team gave us their best shot. Like no team fell over easy. So we just made sure we kept our minds right and stayed focused on the bigger goal.
Then you guys go through that run, you guys are still undefeated, and then COVID comes into play, everything gets shut down. Walk us through the whole situation. How did you guys find out about that, and just what ultimately led to that happening? How did you guys react at the same time too?
So we had just came off a game. The game I think it was a game right. We had one more game to go to state. We had just won. We beat St. John's Military, and they had already like limited the number of fans to that game. So we won that, and then we go in the locker room, and they're like, they're still talking about what's going on for the next game. So the next they come, and then we found out. I had seen a post on Facebook. The WIA had posted about it, and it said that the remainder of the postseason was shut down due to COVID. So we had a meeting at St. Cass with the team, and the seniors. It was a lot of tears. It was a lot of it wasn't good at all because we had worked so hard to get to that position that we were in, and we had a good thing going, and we everybody on our team knew we were gonna go all the way. So it was a lot of mixed emotions going on.
And this is difficult for a lot of guys, and obviously it's hard too in terms of the team that no one can play any more games. You guys don't get to win the state championship. But in terms of guys that had D1 aspirations, as you did, that was a difficult time span because the whole state championship thing is one thing, but everyone knows that junior year heading to senior year is probably the biggest AAU summer guys can have. And for you as a player, that could very well be a chance of why you were so under recruited and stuff like that. Had you had a chance to produce at a high level throughout that whole spring and summer, things might have been different, but obviously got to have stuff in store for you. But still, how did you take that all in then? Like, what was going through your mind when you said, okay, we're still not playing games, and now there's no AAU season. My recruitment's still obviously up in there a little bit. How are you going through all that during the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. It was a little weird, but I just made sure that I stayed working out. So, my friend's dad had found us a low key gym, and we were going there. I would still work out, even though like I had nothing to really work out for.
Mm-hmm.
I was still going there and work out, and I would still find gyms to go play basketball in just for when things came up, so I'd be ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know some guys have said like during that pandemic time, people got better per se if you guys had the opportunity. Guys that were like in California and stuff, they didn't get much at all. But how were you able to get working? And did you think that you got better because of the pandemic, just being key on your game, or what would you kind of say how you grew as a player during that time span?
I definitely got better because during the pandemic, you just had to. It was about that was about who really wanted it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like so I found creative ways to get to gyms, just hitting people that I knew, or just if I was going outside to shoot, like I just found ways around it. And honestly, that rest helped my body a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still finding ways to get in the gyms, but it wasn't really consistent. But then the rest, like not running, not doing a lot of stuff, definitely helped my body to just recover.
I do want to sidetrack a little bit and talk about your AU career, though. Obviously, we kind of skipped some time, so it's going back a little bit, but you were running with Wisconsin Playground, and they had a lot of great players. You talk about yourself. James Graham is a guy that was at Maryland. He's in the portal right now. David Joplin, who obviously out there at Marquette right now. What was that team like, and just what ultimately brought you to Wisconsin Playground? Why was it the program you wanted to go play for?
Um, I knew that they could help me. I knew I could bring something to them, and then they could help me with my recruitment as well. So I knew the team. I had been going to some runs with them, and like we built that bond. James was like he wanted me to come play with him. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I've seen them before. I know what they're about, and then just being on that circuit team. A lot of schools look at the teams that are on circuits.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be on that circuit team, even though COVID, we didn't get to go to the Under Armour tournaments, but it was still good. I still got a lot of exposure playing with them.
I want to go a little bit into James because he's another guy that I think is extremely underrated. I still don't know exactly why I didn't get too many minutes out there this past year at Maryland, but he obviously is in the portal. I think he's going to be great wherever he finds a new home and gets an opportunity to play. When did you two get to know each other, though? When did you guys first start to build your guys' bond?
Um, when the talks of me going to playground, when I was talking to the playground coaches and they got to started inviting me to runs, I would go. Me and James would be on the same teams, and then we just started to build that bond. And then he texted me, was like, "I want you to come play at playground. Like I'm going to playground if you go." So then I was like, all right, like we can go play with playground. So we started to build that relationship more and more as we started practicing and going to the open runs together and stuff like that.
You head then into your senior season, and this is the year you guys get a state championship and you guys do win it. Walk us to this year, though. You guys were heading into it, and you and Tyrus are together once again. And obviously, you guys had to say, we should have won last year, but this is our chance now. What were your guys' mentalities heading into that year?
To just make sure that we picked up from last year and kept our foot on the gas to make sure that we didn't get too big headed and act like, oh, okay, since we didn't win last year and we're undefeated, like nobody's gonna lay down now. So we got to keep you got to keep that dog, you got to keep that mentality, you got to keep fighting because ain't wasn't nobody just gonna give it to us.
What was that year like? When you reflect back on your senior season, what was that year like?
It was crazy because we didn't get to play in our home gym, we didn't get to practice in our home gym. We
Mhm.
had to wear the mask, so it was like hard to breathe. It was like a funky year. Like everything was just so different. Like we practiced on a middle school court.
For
So
real?
we going to regular high schools playing on the bigger courts, and we practicing on middle school. We practicing on a middle school court, and the rims were not that good. Like it was crazy. So for us to come out and have a good season like that, that's just tell you where our mentality was. Like we didn't even touch our court until we were going upstate. when we won the game, when we were going upstate, that's when we had practiced like twice at our gym.
Now that's obviously a little crazy because you guys obviously are still in the same state. So what exactly was the reason behind that? Was that just a school decision? They didn't want you guys at the school or a state, or what made you guys not be able to practice at home?
It was the area.
Mm.
It was the area because us, St. Cass and Racine Lutheran, we couldn't play in our gyms, but like Prairie, because they were in like, I don't know, Wind Point or whatever, that they could play in their gym. So it was just like the area, like the Racine department, I don't know, something. The health department didn't want us playing in there. So like we would have to go play when we would have to play teams twice at their school. One day, one game we would wear our black jerseys, and then whenever we played them the next month or week or whatever, we would just wear our white jerseys. Like, so it definitely was weird.
The other aspect that a lot of people had to deal with, not in all states, but a lot of them, was the mask part. So yeah, take us to that a little bit. I know that's not easy for anybody. No one liked that. And I think most guys by the end of the game already had it down by the chins anyways. But do you gotta take us to that a little bit? How do you guys get accustomed to playing with those?
Man, it was definitely hard. Like, it was definitely hard. But some games it was smooth because, you know, the refs wouldn't be so hard about it. Like, they understand, like, if you tired, like you tired, you can't breathe. So like they wouldn't even worry about it. But then you had a good handful of refs that would be real strict about it. Like, put the mask over your nose. Like, I didn't understand the mask because at the end of the day, we all sweating, we all touching the same basketball. So I didn't really understand what the mask was for, but we had to play through it.
So you guys get through that entire crazy season and you guys get to the state championship game. Take us to that night.
Oh man. That day was one to remember. So the first game was real tough. They pushed us to the limit. They almost got the best of us, but I didn't have a good game myself. But my teammates Tyrese and Jameer, they played pretty well. You know, they carried us that game. They held it down. You know, that team, Wrightstown, we played. That was a very tough team. So, you know, that probably should have been the state championship game right there. But so that game was solid. Then that last game was the one. I mean, it was just a game. I probably had one of the best games of my career in that game right there. I had 4 points in the first half and then 22 in the second half, and we ended up going up by 19 and winning it all. At one point in time I had scored like 16, 18 straight maybe. And like it was just a game. It was just a crazy game because Tyrese had went down with cramps for a little bit. So, you know, that was our leading scorer. We didn't have him. So I kind of like, he told me, he was like, bro, you gonna have to like take over. He's like, take over. Like he'd be like, come get the ball, take over. So I told him I got him, and that's when the scoring came out. Like that's the little hidden talent was my scoring. So that's when that came out, and I did what I had to do to make sure we got the championship.
When you guys officially won that game and you guys became state champions, in a way, you guys ultimately won it for the guys that weren't able to be a part of it from the previous season. What did it feel like just to finally come out on top now that you're ending your career on a win, and not just a win, a state championship win? What was that final just moment like after you guys won it?
Man, it was a feeling of relief. Like like when we got done, when the final buzzer rang, like all the weight was off my shoulders, all like my body was killing me because it was like my body knew that this was the last game of the season. So like it was just a feeling of relief, just finally winning that ring and knowing that we won state, just holding the trophy up, getting the medals, having our people there. Like that was the most fans that we've had the whole year in that gym. So, you know, it was an amazing feeling.
You look back on your entire high school career, besides the state championship win, what would you say is your favorite high school basketball memory?
Well, probably when we played St. John's military my sophomore year when I got to guard Brandon Potts. Because that was like one of my best matchups. So that probably was one of my I was able to hold pods under his average and drop 20 at the same time. So that was definitely a good feeling. Shout out to my boy Pods though.
If you had to list your top three favorite players to go up against in the state of Wisconsin throughout your career, rather that be AAU or in high school, but just they had to be from Wisconsin, who would you say is your three favorite guys you got to match up against?
Um, I would have to go with Brandon Potts. That's a good question. Do Tyrese count?
Sure, we can count them, yeah.
All right, so Potts, Tyrese, and who would that third one be? I would have to say James.
Mm-hmm.
Going at James and like in open runs and stuff, we will always talk back and forth. So those would be my top three. Really just go because it was never like we never took it easy on one another. It was never buddy ball. Whenever we was playing, whether it be open gym practice, whatever it may be, it was always going hard. So that was definitely my top three from Wisconsin.
I know they had a super team in that state too, Nicolette, for a couple years out there, especially this year out there with Jalen when he was there, and Kobe was obviously, I think, a sophomore at that point or whatever, or sophomore, freshman, whatever, and the whole list of guys. Did you ever get a chance to play against them? And if so, how do you think that game would have went?
We never got to play against them,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly think we would have won.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just knowing my team, like they had a good team too, but it would have been a dogfight for sure. It would have been a dogfight, but I feel like we would end up coming out on top.
Well, let's go into this recruiting process and talk about rankings a little bit because we mentioned earlier for start of rankings, you didn't have any stars, you didn't have all those big publicity on ESPN or 24/7 or Rivals. And for me, I've always been someone that says I don't care about the rankings. They are what they are, but they never are accurate when it talks about NBA wise or even college wise. So it is hard though, I know, for a lot of guys in high school because of course you'd want your name to be there. You'd love to have stars or whatever, get recognition. How did you deal with them? Did that ever impact you in a negative way? Did it ever hurt, make you at all look at yourself in a different way because you weren't ranked?
Mm-mm. It just I never paid attention to the rankings honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I just I was never worried about that. So I being close to Tyrese, I seen the love that he was getting, so I was like happy for him. But
Mm-hmm.
it never really bothered me because at the end of the day, I knew that when those ranked players stepped on the court with me, it was like I don't care that you ranked. Like at the end of the day, we just playing basketball, so it never really bothered me. I wasn't worried about being ranked. I'm here where I am now, and I wasn't ranked.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that you thought you were a top player? And if so, where would you probably rank yourself? Like if you were to go back after your senior season, once again, I think obviously COVID affected a lot of guys to make those past couple rankings really bad, but where would you say you probably would rank yourself? Would it be in the top 100, top 150, 200? Like where would you probably put yourself if you were to go back? And is that what you thought at that time too when you were leaving high school?
I would definitely be top 50, top
Mm-hmm.
25. That's what I see. Cause I don't know. I just don't think a lot of guys is better than me.
When you were leaving high school, would you say that's what you believed at the same time, or has the past year seeing the way that you've played and the way how much you're capable of doing helped you kind of say, okay, I truly was the type of player?
The past year, we
Mm-hmm.
actually playing college basketball and senior. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Coming out of high school, I don't know if I would have said the same thing right away, but after
Mm-hmm.
playing that year of college, yeah, for sure.
Now, the other thing I do want to get into is your recruiting process because we look at the type of player you are now and just the schools that were recruiting you when you went into the portal a year later, much different type of schools that were caliber wise and division wise or high major, all much different than the ones you had in high school. So, what was that like and how did you deal with that? I mean, I know it had to be still great. You're going to have your school paid for, still had quite a few Division One offers. But what were you thinking? Did you think you were supposed to be a guy that could go to Wisconsin out of high school, or where did you feel that you were being valued in terms of recruiting and the offers you had?
Um, so coming out of high school, I felt like I could have been that guy, like to
Mm-hmm.
go to one of the high majors, top major schools. I just felt like I didn't get the right amount of exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Due to COVID, I wasn't able to get to those big tournaments, and I wasn't really on one of those big tournament teams like my sophomore year going into junior year. So I definitely felt that I could have been one of those guys coming out of high school, but it didn't work out right away. So I was appreciative for the offers that I did have. They took chances on me, they trusted me, believed in me to come to their program. So that meant a lot.
That is a huge thing that one of the things I am a big fan of the transfer portal is because I think the biggest thing for freshmen is being able to play games. And there's a few exceptions. I think if you're in a certain scenario where you get to learn from a all conference wooden type player, for example, if you're at like Villanova and you learn from Gillespie at a point guard or something like that, that's fine to sit behind. But unless like, you get to be mentored by an NBA player the next year or someone like that, getting to play that first year is critical for a lot of guys. So do you feel that getting this past year where you could develop on your game, work on your craft throughout an entire season, was that something that made you better as opposed to if you went to Wisconsin and only got, per se, let's say 10, 15 minutes a game? Do you think that this past year really helped make you the player you are today?
Yeah, this definitely that definitely helped me plan. Being able to get on the court right away
Mm-hmm.
definitely had a positive impact on the player I am. It was definitely some learning curves. I had to learn a lot. I didn't play a lot freshman year. I didn't play a lot in the beginning of the year either. But
Yeah.
once I had one good game, I had a good game like in December, and then that next game our point guard went down, so I started, and then ever since then I've learned a lot from I learned from when I wasn't playing a lot. I watched extra film with the coaches to see what I was doing wrong and see what I can improve on. So once I'm told something like to fix, I apply it right away, and then it just helps me for the better. So definitely being able to get on the court right away, it made an impact.
I believe your Final Four came down to Green Bay, Western Illinois, St. Thomas, South Dakota State. Walk us through those four. Like, what was it about those four programs that stood out the most to you?
Man, I had great relationships with the coaches.
Mm.
I trusted the coaches, and they made me feel real comfortable with coming to any of those schools. So it really just came down to where I was going to see the floor right away.
What was it about Green Bay? How did they ultimately win you over those other three schools?
Um, it was the closest to the house to home.
Mm.
I knew that they were graduating and had guards leaving, so that played a big part. And then I had people. I don't know. People just talk big about Green Bay, so I trusted it, believed in it, and I went there.
I was obviously a young team last season, but you guys go into that season. What did you expect to have happen in your freshman year? Did you think you'd become a all freshman team type player? Do you think you'd be a guy that would eventually average technically 17 points a game when you started starting, or even just 12 points a game over the year? Did you think you'd be this successful in your first year?
Yeah, I told you my confidence jumped from my freshman year of high school to now. So yeah, I definitely looking in. That's why I wanted to go in somewhere and play right away, so I could show that I was capable of playing at this level, at the next level. So yeah, I definitely had like I knew I was gonna be that guy. It just took time. It took time, but that's okay. Great things take time. So I wasn't in a rush to do none of that. I said when I wasn't playing good and the coaches sat me down, I didn't I wasn't mad. I just got back in the gym and worked on it. And then when my time came, I just showed, and then I never lost my time again.
When was the point that you started realizing and started clicking for yourself when you said, I'm ready now. Now it's all settling down, it's slowing down for myself. I know what I'm capable of. When would you say that started happening for you?
It was in December when we played our first. We went to Kansas and played Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can call that my coming out game. I had 19 points that game, and like it was just really the game was just really slowed down. I was getting to my spots, and in that next game we played Kansas State, high major, and had a good game against them as well. So that those two games right there really made me realize that I was here, that I was that guy now.
Do you think you surprised Coach Ryan at all, or do you think that's what he expected from you?
Mm, I don't know. I think that's what he expected. Recruiting me, bringing me in. I think that's what they expected, and it just took a little time to get there, but it all worked out for the better.
The one aspect that overall you played good as a player, but you're a winning player as you've talked about throughout your entire career of basketball leading up to this point. Going 5-25 is not easy for anybody. So, how did you go through that? And how did you overall deal with the losses throughout that year?
It was definitely hard, but that made me mentally tougher. Anybody going through that could have gave up. Like, man, we lose, and I'm tired of it. Or they could just get used to the losing, but it
Mm.
just made me mentally tougher. It made me want to work harder to try to better my teammates and try to keep going and to get things going in a good direction. So I just my mental toughness got way better after going through that season.
When you officially became the starter and you really take over from that point on, walk us that second half of the season. Like, what was that part of the year like?
That part of the year was actually fun. I loved to start the game. So being able to start those games, being able to create your own tempo, your own flow of the game, not having to come into something that's already been created, was definitely fun. And then even closing out the games was even better, being in those final closing minutes and trying to help your team win. It just was a good feeling. It felt super good.
What would you say is the biggest takeaway or thing that you learned from your first year out there in college?
Biggest takeaway. Uh, that's a good question. Biggest takeaway was that once again you can't give up. You can never give up. Like you got to play till the final horn, the final buzzer. Like even though we didn't have the season that we wanted to have, like I played each and every game until the end, no matter if we was up. I mean, no matter if we was down 5, down 10, 15, whatever it may have been, I'm playing until that last buzzer.
That season comes to conclusion, and you obviously decide, and you have the option that we see thousands of guys have now done in terms of entering the portal. When did you start realizing and saying, this has been a fun type of year? Obviously, I grew as a player, would like to win more probably, but when did you start deciding and saying, I think it might be best for me to enter the portal and move on? Just take us through your mindset from the time that season ended to when you decided to officially put your name in the portal.
When I seen a lot of my other teammates enter in the portal,
Mm-hmm.
um, that just made me want to test the waters to see what was out there for me. See if anybody was watching after the season that I had. So I just when I seen a lot of my guys, we were down to like 5, 6 players. So I just wanted to go test the waters and see what was going on.
So if other guys would have remained at Green Bay, do you think you still would be there this year?
Possibly
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the older we got, we could have definitely kept going, definitely built something.
Take us to the time you had to go tell Coach Ryan, because obviously I know that's the one part people don't necessarily talk about. Obviously, it's a business decision at the end of the day. You need to do what's best for yourself. But what was going through your mind as you had to go talk to him and tell him?
Man, that was a lot of mixed emotions because I was a part of his first recruiting class, and he believed in me to come and play for them. So that definitely was a hard conversation. Um, it was definitely hard, sitting in his office telling him that. But there's no hard feelings though. I got mad love for Coach Ryan. I just talked to him not a couple of days ago when I went back out there to get the rest of my stuff. So yeah, there's no hard feelings, but that definitely was probably one of the hardest conversations I've had to have.
So you enter that portal then, and you get tons of schools coming out at you. I know, at least we've heard about BYU was in the mix, Minnesota, Bradley, UC Davis. Who was the whole group out there for you? Like, who were you really heavily talking to, and or was it actually the finalists kind of for you?
I've talked to them. Who else? I talked to UIC, Northern Kentucky, Chattanooga. Um, that those are pretty much it. St. Thomas came back in the mix. I heard a little bit from South Dakota State again.
Mm-hmm.
It was some pretty good schools.
When Wisconsin called you and you heard from Coach Gard and you heard from that staff and they said, "We want you to come out and visit. We want you to become a Badger." What was your initial reaction?
I didn't believe it at first. They were the first school to call.
Hmm.
As soon as the compliance got hit submit, they called Coach Chambers because he from my city.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to them first, and I didn't even know that's what he was calling for at first. Like I said, I didn't believe it at first, but talking to them, it was just like I was like, wow, is this really it? Like they seen what schools seen what I could do.
Mm-hmm. When they told you that we want you to come on a visit and we want you to become a Badger, what was going through your mind in terms of going there? Was that initially right away you said, okay, this is probably the number one school on my list now. It's going to be hard to beat them, or did you just kind of still keep it open for everyone else?
So at first I still kept it open for everybody else, but then when I actually when they had came, so the coaches came down to my city. We had a meeting, we talked, and then when I came there, I could just tell that like I was ready to make it a done deal.
So you got to take us to the visit then. That had to be a special one to ultimately land you there. From the time you got step foot out there in Madison to the time you left, what was the visit like?
Man, it was definitely fun. Like they showed us around the campus. The city is just beautiful. They showed us we went to the facilities, they showed us like what else they showed us. We went by the down by the lake. It's just like a beautiful scenery. Then we went into the facilities, and I had only been here because we played them, so I had only seen the locker room and the gym. But like going through the rest of everything, like seeing their offices, seeing like the equipment that they use to train with. I met with the trainer.
Hmm.
I remember with like it just felt like home. It just felt like home.
When you decided that this is where you want to go, when was that?
Probably after the
Hmm.
visit, right? Yeah, probably like right the day after one of them.
So when you did end up deciding to go call Coach Gard and say, "You got me, I'm going to become a Badger," how'd you do that, and what was his reaction?
Uh, so I told him uh before I left the
Hmm.
vi- before I left the visit, I told him. So I didn't even have to call him. He already knew,
So when you told him that, what was his reaction?
and he was excited. He was excited. All the coaches were, just to have me out here, and that's I felt the love. So that's why I was like, this is probably where I want to be.
Now let's get into Wisconsin because you guys have I wouldn't say a rebuild yet, it's more of a reconstruction a little bit because there's still got a lot of talented pieces. Obviously, the two main guys from last year moved on now, and Johnny Davis is going to be a top 10 pick. Brad Davison, one of the program's leaders of all time. This is going to be a little bit switching up now. Obviously, there still are a lot of great cornerstones, as I said, still there. Obviously, Chucky's going to be a great player there. He's got a lot of different pieces that are there still, though. But you come into this group, there's going to be incoming other guys as well. How excited are you for this team and potentially having the chance of running it back and winning another Big Ten championship?
Man, I'm very excited. Like you said earlier, I'm a winner. I come with a winning mentality. So, I just want to do whatever I can to help the team win. And I already know, like I've played with the guys, and I know that they want to win too. So like we gonna gel really well, and then we're gonna see what we do.
I know you've already been working out with a few different guys, including Johnny, Chucky, and other guys too. What has that been like?
Fun, like really fun. Just being close to them guys and seeing how they work, and then working with them as well. It's just been fun, just being around them.
Now we see the potential of you and Chucky. I know on paper some people might say your person can probably be the sixth man, back him up. You guys could possibly both start and both be about 6 foot point guard, shooting guard duos. But at the end of the day, we know that you two have a chance of spending 3 or so years together now. How excited does that make you? Just know that you two, rather it be you backing him up, you guys playing side by side with each other, whatever that's going to look like. How excited people form that backcourt with Chucky?
Man, it'll be very exciting. Like we was just playing today, just playing around, and like me and him full court pressing. Oh my goodness! Like I would definitely, I feel like me and him could definitely play side to side. We might look, they might put us at the same height on paper, but Chucky taller than me, he bigger than me. We definitely could play side by side, and at the end of the day, the height don't matter. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
match Chucky up against anybody, and I promise you, it's not gonna be pretty for them. So like I feel like me and him could definitely be that 1-2 punch, whoever it may be. I don't mind playing off ball. I play with Tyrese. I don't mind playing on ball. Like I can do
Mm-hmm.
both. I can adjust to both. So whatever they got us doing is, I'm just excited to play with them. I love Chucky.
You kind of touched up on a little bit there, but as you said, the biggest thing why I think some people might be hesitant to say you two will be starting together is the height aspect. It's probably, I don't know every single height in the country right now, but probably would be near the closest to the smallest duo in the backcourt out there. Why would you say that's not a problem though? Like, why do you feel that you two, even though you guys might not have the height and all that type of stuff, why do you think you guys could still both be successful together?
Cause we're both physically strong, mentally strong. Like we even though we were young, like we both had good freshman years. So like basketball is not new to us. Like we know what we're doing, and at the end of like guarding, we can guard anybody. Like any guard, it don't matter how tall you are. Like I've guarded taller guards. That doesn't bother you at all. So like I feel like me and him, we would be able to play together, and we would be able to shut some guys down with no hesitation. Like the height don't matter.
I have to imagine there still are some more pieces coming together on this Wisconsin team. So, are there guys that you're trying to recruit, or are there other guys that you're targeting right now that you know about?
I've heard of so far. I've heard of Grant Basili from Wright
Mm-hmm.
State and Ben Vanderplas
Mm-hmm.
from Ohio University.
So if you guys could land one or the other, possibly even both of them, how much better would that make you guys?
I feel like either one, even if both, I feel like that would just make us like tremendously better. Because I've played against Grant Basili, so I know what he can do. And I've watched Ben Vanderplas. What's crazy is his brother was our director of basketball operations at Green Bay. So I
Mm.
definitely know a little bit about him. I feel like they both could help a lot.
I do also want to get into Coach Gard because he is a very underrated coach. Just seeing what he did last season, I think speaks measures to how great he is as a coach because the Big Ten is not an easy conference to go win out there in. And obviously on paper to start the year, people were saying this might be once again a potential rebuild year. It's a very young team, and there was Brad there as well. They come out and they win the entire conference. So take us to Coach Gard. Obviously, you haven't got to play for him yet, but just talking to him, seeing him off the court, what is he like?
Man, I can tell he knows what he's doing. You know,
Mm.
I trust he knows what he's doing. I can tell he's a good coach, and I honestly cannot wait to get out there and play. I know he's a winning coach, so you know he's gonna push his guys. I can tell that he's pushing his guys day in and day out. So I just can't wait to be a part of that.
What's the favorite memory that you've created so far with him?
Mm. When I had my meeting with him, and he was explaining everything to me, and then he was like, I forgot exactly what he said, but he was breaking everything down like in his office. Well, just being in his office, seeing like all the championships that Wisconsin has won over the years, just like and him just explaining that to me, that was probably one of the best things. Like just me being a part of that, like trying to continue that rep. That
Mm-hmm.
was probably one of like the best moments I've had with him.
When you talk about what you're bringing to this team, and I know a lot of fans are going to be excited about getting you out here, what is it that you're going to be bringing to Wisconsin? When you do get to Wisconsin, what can fans and the team expect you to bring there?
They expect me to bring energy, a winning mentality, and a dog. Like I would not give up. I just want to do whatever I can do to help us win, help us continue to win like how they've done in the previous years. I just want to win.
Now, this goes back a little bit to the recruiting process, but if Wisconsin never came into play for yourself, what program do you think you'd be playing for next year?
Mm. Um, so if they never came in when I entered the portal,
Mm-hmm.
either BYU or Bradley,
Mm.
because
Well, you.
I like them a lot too. But Wisconsin was the one.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you said, you are staying home though, so you're going to have once again a hometown hero representation for yourself. How excited are you to go out there knowing that you're not just playing for yourself or anything like that? You're actually playing for what's going to be across your chest, that Wisconsin. You're going to represent your hometown. What's that going to mean to you?
Man, it's gonna mean a lot, you know, because a lot of people know my background. They know my history. You know, St. Cat's is a pretty well known school, so they know that I what I come with. And so you know, it's definitely just gonna mean a lot to be able to win and have that Wisconsin across my chest.
I know NIL is a huge thing now. That's one of the biggest changing things in college basketball recently. And there might have been some stuff at Green Bay, but a school of Wisconsin magnitude is probably a lot different than they had. So take us to that a little bit. Was that a factor in the recruiting process at all? And even if it wasn't, just what is their pitch? Like what kind of is the plan for you NIL wise for next year?
So we didn't really speak much on NIL,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean it'll come. I already know it would like at a bigger school. So you know, I had a decent amount at Green Bay just on my solely on my own. So you know, being at that bigger school at a bigger university with the fan support that they have, I just know that it'll continue to grow.
So if you could pick one NIL company or one company in the entire world to get sponsored by, and it might be not, maybe not, it doesn't have to be realistic. It could be any shoe or car or clothing company in the world. What would be your dream sponsorship?
My dream sponsorship, I probably want to do a sponsorship with StockX, the shoes, because they shoes would be a lot. So I probably want to do a deal with them so I could get some off on the shoes or something.
Well, a few more things before I let you go. One thing is, though, I know that all guys do want to build a legacy for themselves. So when you do leave Wisconsin, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieve both on and off the court there?
I just want people to remember that on the court, I gave it my all every night, every game that I was here to win. And then off the court, I just want everybody to know that I'm a real stand-up guy, a real respectful guy, and I'm a good person to come talk to.
There is a unique other piece about you that anyone that's seen your pictures has probably noticed it now. You have the two different tattoos on your legs. You have Rise Above. Walk us out a little bit. Where did that idea come from, and what does that mean?
Because like going back to my freshman year of high school, I had somebody tell me that I wouldn't make varsity as a freshman. So like just negative stuff like that, negative energy anywhere in the world, it's always gonna be something negative, somebody negative comments, whatever it may be. So that I got that for that, just rise above all negativity.
Absolutely, man. Well, my final thing for you, give Wisconsin fans your three biggest goals that you have set for your Wisconsin career.
My three biggest goals, let's see, let's go. I want, whenever this may happen, I want another Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be what's the three? Big Ten championship, a national championship, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that third one? Oh, that's a good one. What's that third one? I don't know. I ain't got a third one.
You want to be Big Ten Player of the Year, All Conference team?
Oh yeah, for sure. All conference team, Big Ten Player of the Year, All Conference team, whichever one come. They're my big goals for Wisconsin for sure.
Well, Kamari, congratulations on the commitment. I'm excited to see what God got next for you throughout your career out there in Madison. Enjoy the rest of the offseason, man, and appreciate taking time to come on today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Of course, man. You always welcome on. God bless.
Very blessed.